when you see a headline like what I'm showing you guys in the cutaway, it makes you wonder who is the more fervent party here.
Gender identities are.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes: male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And
so
there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay, biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
Just for the record, this is not the first time that this issue has been debated amongst the types at Capitol Hill, that there being Congress, Senate, the Judiciary Committees, stuff like that. So apparently this issue is obviously still pretty hot, and therefore it needs to be litigated a little bit more. But when you come across two personalities that, quite frankly, just I have no idea what to say, especially here in the first 45 seconds of this video, especially seeing how these personalities are not exactly what we call of sound body and mind. And what I'm talking about is obviously this woke professor, this woke scientist, and of course Marianne Williamson. Now guys, before we talk about this issue of Riley Gaines and Senator John Kennedy absolutely burning these people, and not to mention also Piers Morgan, which by the way we'll get to more in the second half of the video, I need to go ahead and say this now. The full videos will be put in the description box of this video here. This video is going to be the only video that comes out today, that they're being on Thursday. As you guys can see, I'm moving some things around. The other side of the house looks a lot worse. And tomorrow, there's probably going to be the standard 2 to 3 videos out later on tomorrow afternoon. But I wanted to go ahead and get this one here out because it is an issue that, quite frankly, we still need to talk about. And this is probably going to be the last time I talk about this issue for a while. But seeing how it is that we all know what happened with William Thomas, whatever you want to call him. Obviously, we've got to say both because of YouTube's algorithm, or else they'll do stuff like this here. Put the yellow, the yellow dollar sign on your video, meaning that obviously you can't collect any ad revenue off of it. But still, at the same time, though, I mean, I'm a pretty big boy. Just chin down, hands up, keep moving forward. But the full interview with Piers Morgan that Marianne Williamson did, on the other hand, that one has a lot more content in it that's going to be a little bit more in detail, but I'm going to be leaving the full video in the description box. Now, with that right there being said, let's see what happens when the wokes go to Capitol Hill.
What their gender identities are.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes: male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And
so
there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay, biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport, in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I need to go ahead and say this. During that little segment, which, by the way, I'll leave the full segment in the description box, she brought up Serena Williams. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, you put Serena Williams in the thumbnail, so when was she going to come up? Well, right here. You see, Serena Williams went on the David Letterman show a while back and had a conversation about this same topic of men competing against women. Take a look.
Well, who would it be?
Well, I don't know. Let's say you would be the...
I was hoping you'd say.
All right, feminine side. And me.
And you. Oh. Well, actually, it's funny because Andy Murray, he was been joking about myself and him playing a match, and I'm like, Andy, seriously, like, are you kidding me? Because for me, tennis and men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because no, it's true. It's true.
Honestly,
it's a completely.
really?
It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game, and I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you kill me.
I'm with
Obviously,
you.
due to CBS, due to copyright, I obviously had to put just the photo of Serena and let you guys hear the audio there. But this issue, for the most part, has been squashed on several occasions. There was also that bit where John McEnroe, don't worry, I'll include it in the description box, where John McEnroe went on CBS in the morning and he had the exact same conversation about possibly playing Serena Williams. We all know that if biological women compete against biological men, it is obviously going to lead. And you guys can go online, you guys can see the video of the track star completely smoking everybody out there on the track. You would actually see this and you, quite frankly, would just come to your own conclusion that obviously this is not a good idea. We've talked about this on several occasions. We've mentioned this topic. We've talked about how bad of an idea it is. And of course, because somebody says that somebody is, once again, for the algorithm, then apparently they're actually now the sex they claim to be. Also, the whole gender thing. You see, in that full interview, John Kennedy really kind of dismantles her with kindness. Kennedy, by the way, of course, is one of the more hilarious members of Congress. Now, in the discussion that she had with Ted Cruz, it was a little bit more contentious. I'll try to leave that in the description box as well. Obviously, YouTube's community guideline standard, one of the reasons why I'm going more to video essays here soon. Obviously, it's a little bit more realistic. But, of course, Riley Gaines, when she points out the fact that her husband, which, by the way, I didn't know Riley was married because she's very, very young. That's the reason why. Riley brings up the fact that her husband absolutely does laps around her, completely destroys her. That's the truth in the vast majority of these cases. Like I remember, and I can kind of say, I can kind of pinpoint where this entire thing came from. Do you guys remember what happened when Ronda Rousey went up against, there was whole talk about Ronda Rousey possibly facing Floyd Mayweather? Do you guys remember that? How it was that a lot of people were saying, well, maybe she could fight him. Even though Floyd was in his late 40s, it was pretty obvious that not only would Floyd be able to beat her because he was a biological male, but also the fact that Floyd had better overall hands because he was an actual, honest-to-God, better overall boxer. I would play the Napoleon Bonaparte clip here, but I'll probably get a copyright claim, even though he's pretty good about that. But still, at the same time, though, you don't want these people, like, look, put it this way here. Women's sports exist for a reason. It is designed strictly for women, the exact same way men's sports exist, especially just for men. There are all kinds of scientific studies on that, and I think I've gone through this a lot, how it is that men are built differently, musculoskeletal. Obviously, men have got more overall muscle. Women have got more overall fat, more fat tissue. Men typically tend to be a lot taller, and of course, we're going to come across Marianne Williamson here in a second because she's one of the only, just give me a minute, but still, the thing is this right here. Men are just biologically built different than women. Our bodies are built mostly for carrying, for lifting, all that stuff there. So therefore, you would probably think that men would have a much, much larger advantage. I mean, you don't even have to go into the science. Just use your eyes, use your common sense. That's all the hell you have to do. And of course, you've got the videos online that show this. And it speaks to a much, much larger, how do I say, mental illness that is at play. But then again, as I have explained in a previous video, libs typically tend to have more mental illness. But then again, though, at the same time, though, I think this mental illness that they have has obviously infected even some of the people out there who are, let's just say, a little bit more sane than normal. But then again, though, this is Marianne Williamson, and she has never been sane.
Right.
Well, yes, but then that's once you're talking about something like rape, then obviously it becomes relevant. It's not relevant.
What about sport?
Well, on sports, I do think we need to protect girls who were born as girls. If they are in a situation where somebody, obviously because of the size of their muscles and of their body, gives them an.
But that's all biological males.
Well, yes, that's sort of my point.
So you would stop. Well, hang on, just to clarify that, you would stop biological males competing against biological females?
Unless it can be proven. There are some situations where somebody, let's say they were born as a man, but they're a small man, right? And it can be proven through hormone testing, through muscle testing, and so forth, that there is no biological advantage. But, you know, the other day I spoke at Cambridge University, and I noticed when I went into the area where the bathrooms were, that it said, use whatever bathroom you're more comfortable with. And I thought, oh my God, it could be that easy. So I think everybody needs to lighten up on this issue. Because...
Well, it's fine, except it's hard to lighten up if you are, say, a female Olympic athlete and you're losing out on your place.
Well, that's
because a biological male who's 6'3" and built like an outhouse decides to take your slot by saying, hey, I'm a woman, which goes back to your initial thing that you should all be what you want to be. Well, sure, I want to be, you know, I want to be a movie star, but I'm not. There's a reality check.
If you're talking about specific instances, such as sports, such as where somebody goes in prison, etc., then obviously these become issues that have to be deciding points. But there is another world out there, which it's not hurting anybody. It just has to do with somebody's desire to identify a certain way, the area where we need to culturally open our minds to the idea of fluidity in gender and so forth. And both can be true at the same time.
Well, I'm not sure it can, because I don't think you can have limitless self-identity without it infringing particularly on women's rights to equality and fairness. That's the problem with it. And that's why it sounds great to say, of course you can, but then you end up with that ridiculous woman, Rachel Dolezal, who decided to identify as black. Well, if you have limitless self-identity, why can't you?
You know, I think that somehow we have to find that balance in ourselves as well as our society.
How, as a lawmaker who wants to be the first female president of the United States, what's the balance? Because you either allow it or you don't.
No, I disagree with you. As president, I think my responsibility is to the notion of all people created equal. I, as president, quite the opposite of what you just said. As president, hey, I want the whole notion of my presidency would be, please be who you want to be, do what you want to do, spread your wings and soar. If you get to the point where you're infringing on the rights of other people, you're going to have a hard time with me.
How would you feel if a man decided to, a male politician, decided to suddenly identify as female and became the first woman president.
If you pay very close attention to Marianne Williamson's eyes right there, you pay very close attention to her face, her facial expressions, it makes me almost think that maybe she's a little bit more in fear of what lies behind. Marianne Williamson, by the way, when she ran in 2020, she was a little bit more of the, how do I say, a little bit more of the mentally irregular type. As a matter of fact, she had this town hall where she said, if you're white, stand up and then apologize to the person who is of a different color next to you. That type of person there, somebody who would put you through struggle sessions, all that type of crap. True, actual, honest to God believer of this communistic nonsense. Let me say this really quick. When Piers Morgan of all people is the orator of sanity in this case, you've got a problem. Okay, you've got a serious problem when Piers Morgan comes off as smarter than you, comes off as more knowledgeable than you, comes off with more of a heart than you. Now, I need to say this really quick. In that entire clip, which, by the way, the entire 10-minute segment, and I'll leave it in the description box, probably the entire episode, Piers and Marianne got into the whole gender thing, like what is a woman, all that stuff there. Like I said, I'll probably get a yellow dollar sign on this video, but still. Piers asked her the question, and her first response was, well, in today's society, I guess that just claiming that you are is. And then she adamantly goes through the steps of why that is the case. You see, a big part of me thinks that this entire movement is holding these people completely hostage, that right there being the politicians. And Marianne Williamson is not some sane person, okay? By the way, she's primarying Biden to go along with RFK Jr., which, by the way, is going to weaken the hell out of him. One of the main reasons why I think that whoever the Republican nominee is in 2024 is probably going to win. But still, we may do one last video on that there before we switch over to video essays, because I'm going to try to be a little bit more neutral when it comes to the 2024 primary process. But still, the thing is this right here. The fact of the matter is that women do not need to be... let's just say women need to be left alone in their sport, meaning that no, men and those who believe that they are men should not be there. And also something else too, the smaller man argument. I am pretty sure that Mike Tyson could completely KO Layla Ali and many more female fighters. And he's only about 5'10", and now he's obviously gotten old. Size, in my opinion, doesn't really matter a whole lot on this topic, because there are a lot of men out there who are much shorter, much smaller, who still outperform much more athletic women, at least in their genre, or at least in their sport, or at least in what they're capable of. So let's just go ahead and stop that nonsense there. But I need to go ahead and say one last thing before we close this video. Do you guys remember earlier in the week when I talked about the fact that Candace Owens had been suspended from YouTube? Of course, she's still posting videos, but she's not getting paid for it. Matt Walsh, who, by the way, I have had disagreements with on certain issues, but I 100% agree with him when it comes to the whole gender thing. And, of course, Michael Knowles. Of course, they've all been demonetized on YouTube. Ben Shapiro, of course, is still getting paid like I figured he would. But the thing is this right here. YouTube is now taking a hammer to all of this conversation. They are taking a hammer to every bit of this. So for the time being, I'm probably going to chill on this particular topic or not talk about it as much. Not so much because of the revenue thing. I'm pretty sure that YouTube at some point in time will probably allow this discussion to probably take place again, but I believe it will be probably after 2024. As a matter of fact, I'm working on more videos about what to expect in 2024, and some of those videos include the one that Glenn Beck put out 2 or 3 days ago about the possibility of Christian nationalism. So make sure you guys stick around, because that's going to be up tomorrow. That's probably going to be a part 2, and then I'm probably going to go back over what to expect when it comes to the election itself as far as the race for the primaries, and then I'll probably go back over the censorship thing one more time, and I'll probably go over the Tim versus Ron ordeal, because apparently Tim Pool and Ron DeSantis are still, let's just put it this way here, the whole thing with his camp, the whole thing with Jazz Jennings, and then the AI deepfake thing was a video that I tried to make a while back, but of course YouTube, for whatever reason, would not allow it to get through the processing stage. Still, though, that being said, I just figured I'd give you guys a heads up on what's to come. Also, something else to expect the full shift to more video essay type. Because the idea is to still do these videos here every day, 1 to 2 a day, and then on weekends have a video essay, and then eventually have the video essays out fully at a much more higher pace, much more often. But we're still going to be posting like this right for the rest of the year on these topics. But you're probably going to see me angle a lot more into the pop culture and a lot more into the sports aspect, and of course the media, and of course the short time of prepping aspect when we talk about crime and what to expect from all these types of decisions going on. Guys, with that rather being said, I figured I'd go ahead and drop this video right here on Thursday. There should be 2 more out tomorrow. There's even this incident at Bath & Beyond that I don't want to talk about because the race script is back on once again. But we'll be talking about that tomorrow to go along with what to expect in 2024 Part 2, the Christian nationalism thing that they're probably going to throw at us. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Guys, hit the like button. If you guys think I've earned your subscription, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notifications bell. Also leave a comment in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.